This is the meeting of the Locke Foundation, March 28th, 2016, at 6:33 p.m. Could we have a roll call, please?
Deborah Mendel.
Darryl Wu.
Clarence Chu.
Stuart Walthall.
Honey Lum.
Okay. We have 5 board members of our existing 9 members, so we have established a quorum. We have the minutes from the February 22nd draft of the minutes, February 22nd, 2016. Did these go out? Or should we take a moment here to look at them?
I can't recall.
Okay, well, let's take a moment to look at them.
I know I sent them to you and Wayne.
Yeah.
I don't recall if I sent them to the entire board.
I do remember seeing the agenda when that was in.
Okay. Well, they're brief, 1 page.
I appreciate these 1-pagers.
Move the approval of the February 22nd meeting minutes.
Darryl Wu has moved to approve the meetings of February 22nd, 2016. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, minutes are approved. Moving on to the treasurer's report. As a point of clarification, we do have in our stack of papers an example by Eileen Leung of a little different way of counting for, in this case, January to February 2016. Wouldn't hurt to take a look, and if there's any clarification, perhaps I can help with that too. And Clarence, do we have current bank balance for as of today?
So yeah.
Okay, we don't have the current bank balance.
Is that
That's okay.
Should I check it like before the meeting next time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that would be helpful. Darryl, what do you think about a treasurer's report that does not have the current balance of our bank account?
Well, I think it's incomplete, so I would just hold it over until the next meeting.
Okay, let's table that. But I would encourage you each to take a look at our new spreadsheet. Yes.
So my question, just for clarification and for my edification, I guess. So this is January, February column is in the center column.
Yes.
This is what we have actually approved in the rectangular box.
Correct.
And then this is the third column on the right is then what fraction of that annual expense we have.
Correct.
Either incurred or,
Yes.
received.
Correct.
Okay. A little slow on the uptake, so.
Well, what this will mean too, if we stay with this layout, it's been kicked around a little bit, but we will see our budget every month. And we can call upon it. There is a lag time, and we were hoping to get it, it's been about 3 weeks for a number of things. We're hoping we can get that down to about a week. But this is where the current balance in our bank account might help. I'm just not sure.
Well, you know, even if there's a lag time of 3 weeks for reporting purposes, we only meet once a month anyway. And so since this is not the end yet of March, we're current up to January and February, the 2 months we have completed.
Yes, I hope. Yeah. Okay, so let's table the treasurer's report. Communications, Wayne is not here this evening, so we'll not get a California State report nor an executive director report. So let's move on to old business here. The concession contract is still currently underway. There is a pertinent letter to and from Mr. Preston. And for a little clarification too, we do have a complex relationship with state parks that have a number of divisions. As you all know, we have interpretation, we have enforcement, we have the bean counters in bookkeeping. They do. And there's also the legal arm, another group that vets. And we have concurrently been communicating with a number of these different branches. I mentioned in a previous subcommittee report that we had spoken to Jason DeWall, who's our new head of Goldfields, or Delta sector within the Goldfields district. And that was attended by one of his assistants, and then also Terry Lopez, who's in charge of interpretation for our boarding house. Wayne has been communicating with another branch of state parks that I am honestly going to have to tool up on. I did take the time to read Mark's second draft. We have our concession contract, and then also paperwork involved with concession contract, and then also Mark, what do we call that other? We have to handle in order to go to general services. We do need to prepare what
The general plan,
general accounting.
yeah, because there's the interpretive plan and then the general plan, and then
Yeah.
there's I think there's the third document, which is the concession contract itself.
Yeah. And apparently the concession contract will be the final that will go through Gerald.
Yeah, I don't have
services.
any input on that, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that we will have to have a certain amount of paperwork and no doubt a number of communications. So we're retooling up for that. We've lost a little time on that, but it's happening. I wish I could be a little more concise with that report, but
Okay.
Are they placing any deadline
Yeah.
pressure on us?
yeah,
When do they want us to be complete?
May 15th.
With a formal draft or?
No, to send a draft. So, and our new, well, the new demands, for lack of a better word, do involve it's going to cost us more, and it'll put more in our lap. The state parks has been paying, now this is to the best of my ability right now, knowing this. I've worked with Wayne a little bit on this, but we the foundation, have not been paying all of the electricity here. In particular, the HVAC system, one that runs an awful lot upstairs, I don't even know if it turns off. We're going to be in charge of financing all that. And there's other little things like repainting the water lines every 5 years, a lot of other little stuff that was thrown into the whole deal. It's a more costly and more complex relationship that State Parks is proposing. So for us to just say, yeah, and just go for it, I think it wouldn't be prudent. I think it requires us going over carefully their suggestions, Daryl.
So, why? I mean, why is State Park putting the burden back on us?
I'm not exactly sure.
So,
What the easiest thing would be if they insisted on finalizing all of this paperwork rather than going month to month. The easiest thing for them would have been, in my opinion, to continue on with the current relationship. But that has been ratcheted up a little bit more now.
You don't know why.
I don't know why. Mark?
There's been a move to what they call service-based budgeting for each of the districts and parks. And the way they're gonna allocate funds and spend funds is gonna be radically different going forward. And so the district superintendents, I'm sure, for Goldfields are really looking at their budgets, the money they have coming in from the different parks under their supervision and their outflows, and their new billing and financing is all supposed to be based on what parks are actually earning, so they can have a more accurate estimation of what they're spending on to provide visitors with services and to maintain and keep the park up.
So it's a general application of their new program. to everybody.
Throughout entire state parks, and they're going to what's called a service-based budget. It's a
Yeah.
new change as to the way the parks, California State Parks looks at its budget and how it, where the money comes in, where the money goes out.
Yeah. Is there anything you can add?
I can forward the board some of the information that the Parks Transition Team has sent out on service-based budgeting, and how there was just the announcement this last week to all parks employees that the entire parks is going to that type of service-based budgeting.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
So, let me just suggest that if this is going to be imposed on us, that there be some quid pro quo. So, there will be an additional burden on the foundation. And, I mean, I think that you might be able to ask in exchange some relief from the onerousness of this application, what is being sought by this application process. Because if we're going to take more on, and we're doing what we do, right? It is right now, we're having a difficult time articulating what we do into the format that State Parks wants. But if you're going to have us take on a greater financial burden, maybe they might be able to negotiate some relief from the onerousness of the burden that they're placing on us.
And that's what we're hoping for. So that could be monetary relief, and I myself, because I'm kind of selfish about this rebranding of strengthening our branding as a more family user-friendly facility tilted more towards that of a museum, that will get more latitude regarding not only our displays and mounting of systems for bringing in our displays and art, etc., and then also increasing our ability to sell here, which would mean, displays and racks, etc.
Yeah, which would then assist us in meeting the burden, the financial burden they're placing on us.
Yeah, because I do think we do have headroom in both areas. We can increase our sales. Yes, Larry?
Are we approaching that we going to take over the second floor also?
Yes, that's what we're approaching. But, and I was going to talk a little bit about the physical aspect of what's going on there too. And we have, and I couldn't find in writing, but we have more than tacit approval of using the upstairs, which we're doing, and continue using it. I myself want to take it a step further so that, well, we can talk about that, but that would be one of the things, a couple of the things on the table, that of increasing our sales down here through the use of putting in not only for sale items, but also our own displays and whatnot, and making it more aesthetic. We've got a great team in place right now for boarding house display committee. with tons of experience and a lot of resources at our fingertips, which I think if we continue on, and especially if we hit a couple home runs with what we present here, we'll be getting people coming back over and over and even coming out specifically to see what we would be able to present up there. There's a lot of resources out there. So, but regarding the interpretive plan and the other plan that we have to submit that will lead to getting a permanent concession contract, because I won't even move on that until we get this other stuff done. There's a certain amount of retooling that I myself have to do here, and I'm hoping that I can continue talking with Wayne. And Mark is such a great resource as far as knowing the state and the politics and whatnot. So, anybody have any questions that I can kind of help with? I'll know more. I guarantee I'll know more on our April meeting. Okay. Moving on to old business B, and that's subcommittee updates. They're all the little committees that we have going on here. There's not a whole lot really changed. Everything is moving along as far as our membership got a little boost here this last month. The newsletter is turning out fine. We're getting more and more of a backlog of good material. And the demo garden is coming fine. I have had a meeting, a very fruitful meeting with the publisher of the Rio Vista Herald this last week. And because I don't know if you all know, we didn't have a very good relationship with them in their previous editor. And he's very interested in seeing what we do on our website and in the newsletter, and he's willing to reprint, and he's going to cover pretty much anything that we're doing here in town. So,
Good job.
yeah, he's a real cool guy. It's going to be a much better relationship, and we had Cindy out here 2 weeks before that for lunch. Cindy at the Rio Vista Beacon, and she absolutely loves Locke. Both of them got to come down here, spend the afternoon, go through the boarding house, take a special walk, a deluxe walking tour, etc. Okay, as far as the budget goes, this is old business C. Oh, I didn't hand it out. Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting them mixed up with the event budget. The budget has already been approved for 2016. That was the meeting where we made a whole lot of changes. So it just ended up on here. When I read the agenda, I was thinking, because I didn't see all the paperwork, well, maybe we're presenting a nice clean copy of what we had done before, and I didn't find it, and then I realized, okay, it is here. It's going to be in our monthly treasurer's report. So that's that for that. For the Locke Scholarship Awards, Clarence, would you like to address that?
Well, mainly that we talked to Eileen.
Yeah.
Because I thought that last time that I talked to you was that she's proceeding with just that one scholarship.
She's proceeding with the at-large scholarship. So everybody knows we offer a scholarship essentially for the 2 high schools and also an at-large. Each one is $500. The application forms have been created. I think we even have, I think Irisa has actually submitted her form too. As far as the response that we have gotten from the 2 high schools, I don't know, but Eileen is kind of overseeing it. Traditionally, we get more response from Rio Vista than we do Delta, but that's as much as I know at this point.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't got an update with Eileen as to whether she received any applications.
When's the deadline? You know?
I wish we're going to have an incomplete subcommittee report on that because Eileen is
Okay.
kind of taken over that. The good thing is we have the funds ready. And
Okay.
we're ready to pull the trigger when we get the applications in by the deadline, so.
It's gotta be before the May
That's,
festival.
that's right,
I
that's
certainly
before,
would hope
so it
so.
must be coming up.
Sometime in April, I guess.
Yeah,
The reason I asked too is because I know the principal of the Delta High is in Walnut Grove Rotary with Russell Ohms. And
what is his name? You know,
It's a woman,
her name?
I don't really know.
Okay,
No, but I can ask Russell to make sure he, do you have a letter? There must be a letter that went out to Delta. If there's a letter and I could get that through, through Russell to the principal directly at their next Monday's meeting, there might be a more, bigger follow-up. He also knows the counselor, I think, I believe, who I would imagine would be very directly involved with, approaching possible candidates.
that sounds like the way to go.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in there that doesn't say somebody can actually be nominated by a principal.
The counselor is a very beloved woman, guidance counselor at school. And, well, you can get something to me later.
Okay, I will. I do have in another binder the forms. One is the letter, one is the application. So. Moving on to new business. This is an action item asking for the board to allocate $600 for a new hanging system on the second floor. Now let me do a little explaining what's going on there. The original plan was to put the hanging system in this front room, mostly because of the view and the light, and it's smaller and it would be a good place to start, and there's an adjacent wall on the other side of the hallway there. A problem I have is the panels that the state put in, and I think this is kind of indicative of the way that they're approaching this, our boarding house museum. They've been bolted down to the floor, meaning that they would be left there perpetuity, which I don't think is a good idea. Pretty much guarantees that they want everything, for instance, the exhibition bedrooms to never change there. I think DR was telling me the other day that he went back and saw was it the Indian Museum, or was there
The State Indian Museum, yeah. The old one.
Yeah, he went back 50 years later, and it was the same exhibit.
It's the same exhibit in the same places with the same lighting and the same signage.
The same years of corn.
No rotation.
50 years at best.
Yes, basically that's it, 50 years
So
ago.
this hanging system will allow us to create a more variety of exhibits that will be hung from the wall, using wall space without damaging wall space with interchanging exhibits. If I understand.
Yes. And the system itself would have to be screwed into the ceiling. That could be a problem. What it is the actual screw bolt that goes in and the wheel on it. And you would put them in every 3-4 feet for the length that you want, and then the whole system hangs on that wheel.
Oh.
From the rack that hangs down is thick filament with little pinch things on it. So you just put them where you want them, pinch them, and then you can hang artwork.
They also make some of those with transparent film, so you don't even see the wire.
Oh, see, there you go.
Looks nice.
And this is enough you know, it's a crazy room. It's got, you know, 2 windows there and 4 feet here and then 8 feet there, and then we can't use that side because it's a window. We got a nice 4 feet here, and then there's a door there and a door here. And I've drawn it all up, and there's only about 32 linear feet that we could use. But with the new show that we want to bring in, the show to start the system to see if it works would be the Motlow show, which is hung in acrylic plexiglass. It's possible to hang 2 or maybe even 3 on vertical presentation, but we wouldn't be able to do the whole show, which is 43, I think, images it would be.
So we still might need some display racks, some manner of displaying exhibits that could be placed within the room.
Yes, and there is, with the Motlow show, there's text, a couple of kinds of text, so it would be 3-dimensional on the floor.
Those information panels, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. But if you go upstairs and look, because of the use of the easels, it's like a maze up there, and it takes up, you know, most of the floor space for each one of those. In this case, the Flying Tiger images. It's a great show. It would look a lot better if it was up against the wall and people could move around more easily. And you could, you know, once you open up that much floor space, and it's the same deal with the big room back here. But on our biggest wall is a panel permanently placed right there in the way. In between the 2 windows, which is actually just a juicy spot, boom, panel permanently placed right there. There's another permanent panel placed over another, right in front of the
So
walls.
if I understand, the hang system would possibly even allow us to mount the Flying Tiger display in a more, you know, spaciously, you know, effective way. Because right now, that's on easels. If those elements could be placed, mounted behind plexiglass, say, or framed, something like that, then maybe those could be hung on the walls, and then floor space could be used for other
Yeah.
displays too.
The Flying Tiger will be going out pretty
Oh,
soon.
oh, well,
However, the Angel Island, I don't even know the title of the show that we have with all the great photographs and whatnot, is going to stay. All those things, what we have now is 6-foot
they're just
plastic
on
tables
tables.
laid down flat on tables, some up on easels that eat up the whole far corner there. But we don't have as big a problem at all with the permanent panels to the floor.
well, I think that 600 is a very reasonable amount to start with to really begin to create ways to properly display exhibits that are both, you know, in our possession and on loan.
Yeah.
It's a start. I've seen, I don't know, did you send that? I think the board did see a link to what these were.
I don't know if the board did, and I'm not sending in anything until, because they have a variety of sizes, and we need a variety of sizes.
Do you think 600 is going to cover enough of what we need?
Actually, it's
or is
enough
it a
to
little
do
short?
that smaller room and the whole far wall on the big room. I was gonna sneak that in.
Well, I would move that we approve allocating the 600 for this hanging system. So I think it's a great idea, and it gives us an opportunity to start to really, you know, put proper museum displays of what we have and what we hope to have in the future.
And I do want to clarify that that doesn't mean, what we're passing here is the money to buy the system. It's not sanctioning the placement of the system. I don't want state parks, I wouldn't want Jerry Lopez walking in here and going, oh my God, what have you done?
Okay, so you know, actually using the system is another question. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
So do you plan on running it past Terry
Yes.
before you actually purchase But you want
Well,
because you just thrown in another helper.
I'll tell you what I was gonna do, and I already brought Alfredo over here, and we figured out how to take the back off those panels and undo them from the floor and repair any holes that are in the floor. I was gonna go ahead and do it.
Okay.
But my wife Eileen freaked out and said, I better stop and think about it. Well, if those panels don't get to move, the system will be inferior
Okay,
in
but
there.
certainly in the back room, there are no permanent panels mounted.
Correct. And the 600 would be enough to actually do the big room.
Okay, so this, what action item you've mentioned here, it is basically a hanging system for the second floor of the boarding house. So I would
Yes.
still like to move that we approve $600 for a hanging system for the installation of the second floor. And whether it goes into the front or the other end, I don't think that matters at this point.
Good. And that's for the purchase, to clarify again, it's for the purchase of the hanging system and not the installation, which will take labor. It's enough for 60 linear feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is, more than what we need in a small room, so. Deborah has made a motion to allocate $600 for the purchase of the hanging system. And,
The agenda says installation, purchase new hanging system and installation, so are we gonna be able to, or you gonna be able to have somebody install the system, or do you have to have
I can
more
do it.
funds in it? Okay.
James Motlow's done it in his front room, and that's why I chose this system. It simply involves putting these things, we don't need to hire somebody to do that, so.
Carol just seconded.
Okay.
Kind of choked on that second.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Mark, would you like to chime in on this?
Panels that are attached, that would need clearance because it's part of what they call a furnishing plan for the structure. So at the minimum, I would get Terry Lopez to review what you're planning to do.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
surprised.
And I will say, I have almost bought one of the hanging systems for my house too, to hang my art in my front.
Yeah.
And so I looked at a couple of them, and they do appear to be fairly good systems. You just have to check the weight load out so you don't put too much on it.
Yeah,
Right.
because the filament is stronger than you ever need.
Yeah, those are
Right.
stainless steel, but like I said, they make translucent film ones that,
Yeah.
so you can layer, different sizes. It is a sliding rack, so there's a lot of versatility to that type of hanging system.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily even have to be all of them like this. You can, because those filaments do slide, you
Yeah.
can do all
And
kinds
so you
of
can lay
stuff.
over and, you can hang a lot from there.
But it says it can hang a good sized glass work on, so.
As long as your attachments are secure,
Yeah.
and the structure that you're securing it to can support that weight.
Yeah. Yes, and I will make sure to go through Terry. Okay,
Sounds good.
So you
it's been moved. All those in favor of purchasing the new hanging system, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We need, there's a request for allocation of $100 for a new boarding house video of the centennial year celebration. To give you a little story on that, what we want to freshen up the look in here a little bit and to not make our volunteers go so crazy hearing Mozart's waltz in A.
Is that what it is?
That's prisoner of war stuff now.
Yes.
So, and I've approached Joe Chan, we already have all the images. I'm sorry, I have difficulty remembering the gentleman's name, but he covered the Centennial event so well. And created a, not a slideshow, but just a package with several hundred images in it. He covered everything in every spot for the entire day long.
Yeah, it was very thorough.
Oh, and there's some great heartwarming stuff too. It's just a real great series. I talked to Joe Chan, who's now got some time on his hands. He's experimenting with putting together simply video slideshows with some new music.
Good.
So it's just, he'll do the dissolve, and he won't be doing a bunch of crazy dissolve. It was just one after another. We had a sit-down talk and decided that the shorter the better. You know, since people don't come in here and stand in front of that monitor for 9 minutes, but it would be more along the lines of 5 minutes. And plus, it would be a great archive, permanent archive for our centennial. It's basically the only visual archive that we'll have for our centennial event. So I only wish we had ambient recordings of the entertainment that went on. That would be so good. Yes, Daryl?
So the thought is, if time and resources permit, you might want to create, since the process, the act of going through putting something together is already being thought of, but you only want it to be 5 minutes. Maybe if we can allocate a little bit more money to make several of them, then we can interchange them from time to time.
What a great idea.
So that our volunteers don't go nuts, as you say. And it would be, and it would, you know, when we have repeat visitors, to see something different up there, you know, might encourage others to be repeat visitors
Yeah,
as
we
well.
could put a monitor upstairs too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so while this is being done, maybe several of them can be made, because you don't want to just, you know, we have a lot of material to work with.
Yeah, we do.
And since the person who would be doing this is sitting down to do it, they can kind of use their creative juices to maybe make several I mean, talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it could be possible to do the whole thing with all the images and present it in chapter form.
There you go. That's another way of looking at it, with different music, with different songs.
Yes.
For each chapter.
Yeah, and it's simpler, unlike Gene's, where Gene color corrects and renders, and when he comes out with a package, it's unbelievable. Joe won't be doing anything like that. So it'll be very similar to what we have up here. And Joe's mulling it over right now. I don't think he was expecting the scope of the amount of material that we had, the amount of images that we had. We had sat and talked about music, and I would like Asian music myself rather than Mozart. But
I mean,
No,
yeah,
actually, that one I made that. It's several music, several songs.
I'm sorry.
No,
It is-
well,
it's
the
a
whole thing
great
is that it was
presentation.
people so glued into it because of the pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're
Because-
great too,
yeah.
especially because a number of those people are not with us.
Yeah. The whole idea was just that so that there's a little bit of a music, so it won't be so dead silence here.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, people asked to buy it,
Oh.
so
Yeah, and it's certainly.
it wasn't that bad. If
And
you
it
look
doesn't
No,
mean
no,
we'll
it's
quit
not.
running it either.
Yeah.
It's just, we have an opportunity here to catalog our centennial event in,
yeah, there are actually multiple events involved in it.
yeah, and dated and titled.
Yeah.
So,
so that was going to be my next thought. What you said, you know, we could do chapters, is maybe we could put together ultimately a goal of putting together one long creation, and then with these different chapters playing on there, and then make them available for sale.
you know,
from-
people that were here, especially the ones that are in
And we
that
had a
area.
huge crowd here, so,
Yes.
you know, if people return in subsequent years and they say, I was here, I'd like a copy of that memory.
Boy, that's a good idea. Let me sit down and let's further this thing. It's not going anywhere. Joe's already been digging into it. It could even be put in thematic chapters. It could be the crowds that, I'll tell you, the shots that we have, the idea of getting past residents up on that stage. And I posted some of those stills, just went wild. It's just, it's so wonderful. Good, so I'll pursue this. I don't think we necessarily need to allocate any funds right now for it. I'm happy that, you know, that I got to share a little bit about what we're thinking of and being fortunate enough to have someone like, and Joe has his images too with that.
Stuart, I have a comment on that too, and I don't know if somebody in the past has created a living history or story about Locke.
Joe is doing that right now.
If somebody could do that, and it's a video or the still shots with stories and images, and maybe some testimonials by some of the living residents.
Yeah.
As an idea.
That's a big project.
I'm just thinking that having a monitor at the schoolhouse while people are touring the town, and if we get tours, they can go into the schoolhouse and review the video.
Yeah.
And it's a self-history, educational program.
There's actually a whole lot of ways one can approach that, using old images. One thing that is in process right now is Joe Chan, when he went into every building, every business that was open, and all the except one, she wouldn't let him in, but into the museums and talked to the owners of the businesses, and just got some candid stuff. And it was just an idea that he had in his head on what it would be like if he just walked up and down the street, doing a living history of the town would be. That's major.
That's something
But you know, certainly down the road, this town is so primed and ready for visual imagery and history
Yes.
that it's endless.
This is an idea that I know, can't remember who does it and where, but you've heard of this video project where people go into a booth and they tell a story.
Yeah.
StoryCorps.
That's what it is, StoryCorps. Wouldn't that be a cool thing to have in Locke? A
Uh-huh.
StoryCorps for Locke, where people can go in and come back, their family was here, maybe they didn't even get to live here, but they visited I've run into people who visited their grandparents here.
Yeah.
And
You'd have to have a dedicated space.
yeah, they could walk in and do that StoryCorps type of recording. I mean, that would be amazing.
StoryCorps has people there that really kind of do this and help you, and they prompt you, and
Really?
they do makeup on that.
Well, they didn't do
really?
makeup on me,
That's because you're so
You didn't
handsome.
need it.
but
What did you do it for?
my sister's house.
Oh.
The creation
Yeah,
of
PBS has got, it's a great, it's an online thing.
So, following on what Deborah said, Angel Island had the same thing.
Oh, did you?
So, when they first broke ground, long before they created the wall, the donation wall at Angel Island, this is probably about, they're first raising money to redo the barracks. Because one of my cousins married the architect who redid the state capitol. He was on the board of directors for Angel Island Immigration Station, and they invited people to come over, and they had some docents standing on little soapboxes, dressed in period clothing, talking about, they were actors and actresses, but they were talking about their memories. And my father was, I don't know if he was teasing the actor and actress or he was being serious, but and he walked up to one who was standing on a soapbox and he looked at me and said, "I was here, I don't remember you."
Oh, wow.
But they did invite him up to the barracks where they had a small room and a camera, and asked my father to tell the story. So it's all posted online. At the Angel Island Immigration Station. So there are there were dozens of people who gave their interview that day. My
It's
father
like
was
little
one of them.
mini oral histories.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Boy, wouldn't that be great?
So I think that's a great idea, Deb had, and, you know, if we could have a camera, invite people who have had some history in Locke, and maybe set up a little area upstairs in the back room or something like that, where they can spend a couple minutes talking to the camera.
Yeah, and I've seen it done at funerals too. They'll have a canopy set up somewhere and let people talk. We could, our event in October, our reunion, however we're titling it this year, could be a great place to have something.
At least a
like that,
start.
because, yeah, because we would definitely have people and families of ancestors in there. That's a great idea. So, I'm gonna sit down and have a talk with Joe Chan again. And that's not a bad subcommittee thing going on there. Anybody else on that? Good. New business C is to allocate $160 for materials for the installation of a new frame and plexiglass for our really popular map on the bulletin board. I have to change that figure because we checked out both the polycarbonate and the acrylic for that size, which is just a little over a half a sheet, and it comes to $125 to cover the bulletin board with that material. And then we would want to use redwood with polyurethane, a few coats of that to make the frame for it. It's not going to be the easy open and close like this side because we don't need to be getting in there all the time. What we need to do is protect. We need to get a new map, a nice clean one, put it in there and protect it, and it should last a lot longer. That one is made out of paper and is exposed to the open air. So, and with labor, it comes to $250 to get that side of the bulletin board redone. I'm gonna put my 2 cents worth in here because we want it to look good. We want it to look better than it is. And just about everybody that steps out of their car and walks into this town goes right directly up to that bulletin board. I've been assured that if people take photos of it, it's not going to be all glary, so they can continue to get a nice shot of it and even use it as they walk around. So it'll be a first-class professional job that will last a long time. So.
Can we approve the higher price with this new information, or?
After we have discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
To know, since you've only asked for the 160 and the.
Yep. Yeah. I wondered about that too.
Okay.
And I wasn't about to quibble over this because the amount of labor involved is only 2 hours, which is $50.
Yeah, well, it's important. It was blown off or torn off, that map, a month or so ago.
It's
I
$30.
recently screwed it on with screws and washers.
Mark did some homework for us and found out about companies that put it on metal and whatnot. I think it was like
For a high pressure laminate sign,
yeah, it was like
for one on metal.
600 or something.
so they're about $500 a square foot.
Oh, that's pricey.
Yeah, and so
To
they're,
which Eileen said, we can buy a new one of those once a month for 2 years or something.
Oh, right.
And then I realized this is not gonna be the way
yeah,
to go.
the current image was done with laminated paper for the Centennial, and so it was only about $35 to $40 for that print. So
Yeah,
potentially you could continually replace those as they were damaged or destroyed.
but that means half of their half-life, they don't look good. Like now, it's got bleed and rust
Right.
and
And the only other question is, I have the artwork for that. Has anybody noticed any problems or made any comments for changes that they would like to have made to that?
I haven't heard a thing.
No.
But, you know, I'm not privy to everything.
Okay.
I tell you, it's one popular thing.
Yeah, I see people there all the time.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that quite big, but
Well,
like
that's,
a red star.
well, that's what we can change. If it's going to be reprinted, we can make some changes to it.
Yeah.
To-
Yeah, Eileen knows you have the file on that, right?
So, could I move to approve $250 for materials and installation
Second,
on the new brand?
Okay, it's been moved by Deborah Mendel, seconded by Honey Lum for $250. More discussion on this thing, what it's gonna be. It's a screw-on thing, it's not a hinge thing.
All right.
So, okay, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Okay. New business D, the May 21st Locke Asian Pacific Spring Festival function. I'm gonna make it quick. I could sit and yak about all the little details, but it's coming together. We have 17 booths thus far. I anticipate we had space for 22, and I'm thinking that with a little bit of moving some around and combining similar booths, that we could get another couple of spaces. There's a couple of vendors out there that require a little bit more than one space, but we've been liberal on the amount of space we put in between booths. So that's coming together. We still want to get another handful of vendors that sell items, stuff, you know. We're going to get one more food vendor that business is open down in Cortland.
Do you know about the hours? You want me to go check it?
I'll go ahead and do it because I got their information. I was going to try to get down there today, but I ended up.
This was a surprise that I tried 3 times that week.
I know. I tried
Even
two.
Saturday, I was so sure they said it's open Saturday.
I know. But we are talking about La Posada, right? That's the name of that business.
It's the tamales, Yolanda's tamale.
Well, I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, they have a food truck.
Okay, I was on the wrong track.
I
So
saw the
take back
sign
what I
up
said.
there. They have that sign up there.
Yeah, and there are 2 other trucks out here too that can be approached. But what we want to do is have something to balance out the Panda Express that's coming in. And we got a shaved ice vendor, and hopefully we're to the point now where our donations and sponsorships have exceeded what we have on our budget for both. We're going to give them the new budget. Did I already hand that out, the Asian Pacific budget?
You may have in
Oh, I
the
have it here.
previous meeting.
I have it here. Can you take a moment to address any one of these little issues here?
Yes, I have
I was starting at the top of the list. Our sponsorship has now hit 3,200, so I think what I'm saying here is by the time we hit the event, we should have hopefully about $4,000 in sponsors and donations, or a little more. And if you look down at the bottom, we have $4,700 in expenses.
Right.
And so we won't be losing money. Now we can concentrate on showing our guests a good time. And that means having good vendors and plenty of fun stuff, plenty of good entertainment, and plenty of things to see. So. I'd hoped to talk to Brock about the poker game, but I can get to that. Deborah's, now, this is what's going on right here. Clarence is kind of being a logistics guy on the ground. He's gonna make sure we got power. He's taking care of the permits. Deborah's gonna kind of watch over the silent auction. Honey is doing our raffle. Daryl's just sitting around, so I don't know if he's gonna want to do anything that day. But
I think I have something now. I know that I have something else on that day, so it's, you
Yeah.
either have to leave late, early, or
Well,
leave late.
yeah, I don't care if your kid's getting married.
he doesn't care, he's still gonna guilt trip you anyway. Don't bother looking it up.
I'm gonna now put the hammer down on the event itself. Since the logistics are kind of falling into place about, you know, getting our vendors and the money in and all the pre-stuff. I don't know if you guys got to see the poster, it's just so wonderful. Beth Chapey donated.
Gorgeous.
She donated it. We hired her to get paid to do it, and when she finished with it, she just said, I like Locke Foundation, so. We have a great big poster, so we got little bitty flyers, we've got all kinds of formats for
Will
it.
there be any kind of program
Yes.
out that day?
The program's almost done.
Are there advertisers given anything on the program, like on the back or something? Any kind
Nope,
of-
that's something to think about, huh?
It might entice some more donations.
This has been brought up to my wife, because I've
All right,
seen her
he's
make
being
money on
euphemistic,
advertising,
everybody.
you know, and it's like, she's handling all the printing. So, I have brought that up and I will continue to bring it up. It's not unusual for what we're doing here to have what's called a title sponsor. And you just
Yeah.
slip that name in with our name and you say, give us $5,000.
That's what I'm really hoping to.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know how the Quarter Festival in Ireland used to be like small and then keeps getting bigger. And then they got Budweiser and stuff.
Yeah,
And
Budweiser.
imagine. Of course, that kind of found them up later on because
Oh.
a lot of people get drunk and rowdy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, you know, that's like, hey, we got like Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, whatnot.
Wells
you know.
Fargo, it's all kinds of. So that's something we have been discussing too. Did we get you on board that day, Mark?
I'll be here to volunteer.
You, pardon me?
I'll be here volunteering,
Good. Will you be in the boarding house?
wherever needed.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I know he's been really good with making signage for us.
Hopefully Russell can help a little bit too. He's got a lot of pre-stuff he's done in the past with mowing and making it look real nice out there.
He does, he makes the whole extended parking area
Yes.
available for
Yeah.
vehicles.
And we do want to encourage people in the upstairs, and there's even been a little talk about if anybody's interested from these booths that are informational type booths, if they wanted to, we had a couple of places we could put them upstairs too. I hope DR is going to be doing some walking through, because I hope that we have at least one new show up there. Locke is, or DR is kind of like our main design person on the Locke Boarding House Design Committee. DR has taught design at UC Davis for 30 years. And Brock's credentials aren't bad either. Okay, I had a question about security. It's always good to have a liaison between us and our security folks. We have allocated the money that I think would be enough. But would you mind double checking?
As I talked to Wayne last week, he said that he's going to contact the same security company that handle that we here like the last 2 years and request for the same people.
Good.
It's very important to have the people that are familiar with the whole layout, how to direct cars, where to go, and all that thing.
Yeah,
Similar people would be great, that we don't have. It's always kind of a little bit of, in the beginning, always kind of like you want to keep an eye on this, it's handled, everything is set up, and all that, so too many things to worry about.
I know.
So it'd be great to see some familiar faces that they know what to do right in the beginning.
Yeah, and they grabbed the bull by the horns
Yeah.
too. They didn't have to be told every little thing.
Because it's important, in that overflow parking at the orchard, to really make sure that those cars go in to park correctly,
Yes.
so that you maximize the space.
Yep.
Did we have porta potties last time?
That's something I
did.
wanted to bring up.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, out here,
Right next to the, isn't it, right next to the public restroom?
next to public restroom in the
And
space.
that's not on the budget.
And also a dumpster too. Garbage.
We will get those. Porta potties.
Yes.
Daryl?
Don't you need one porta potty and then one handicap porta potty?
Well, we do have our handicap bathroom, so I think that might suffice.
Last year for the 100th anniversary, at too late, we thought that we might need sheriff's deputies,
Yeah,
and if you recall.
and we did.
And, well, we did, because it turns out that one of the deputies assigned to this area is a friend of a friend. And so he swung by, but he was not officially, you can hire off-duty deputies
Yeah.
to kind of patrol. Turns out, if my recollection is correct, you need to give them about 6 weeks lead time if you think that you want to hire a deputy for a period of time. Fortuitously, like I said, one came by because he's Chinese, he's interest, this is part of his beat, so, and he happened to be off that day.
Boy, that's great. We can get that. I'll be honest, I don't think we need a uniform cop here.
I don't think so either. I just wanted to, if you thought you might, we need some lead time.
Good, thank you. We had porta potty and there was one other thing.
Well, there was a wash stations too.
Wash station.
Oh, God, those things are expensive. I'll check them out.
I mentioned the garbage stuff.
Yeah, the dumpsters, yeah, I did get that, thank you.
It's a good thing you have all the sponsorships.
Yeah, it is. And we can always use more, Daryl.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to get some more.
Okay, Mark, if I could, are you willing to help with some signage this year?
Yeah, I'll help with some.
Good, and I have a list and I'll talk with you about that. It's not gonna be a whole lot different. What we have had in the past has just been wonderful, so. We do wanna
Just
have,
have to figure out some different attachment methods, maybe use zip ties or something next time to attach signage, but yeah, I'll help out whatever I can.
there'll be a little bit of change, that we're gonna have a little cleaner parking signs going all the way to the back there. And we do wanna have a couple of big signs for the entertainment schedule. So it won't be our centennial, but it'll be good. So, anybody have any questions? Budget part of the function, or any part of it? And tell your friends and family. I'm gonna go on TV a couple of times actually, but they're just the small community things, and I've got an opportunity to be on a couple of radio shows too, so.
To the camera.
Oh, that's good.
What I'd like to do is get on the PBS, Beth Rubiak?
That's pretty,
Yeah, that would be.
all things considered.
Yeah, it'd be a plum. So, we've been looking into all that. We have a great media list that we're gonna bombard. We got a pretty good deal going down at least one local paper, and we wanna look at like Stockton and whatnot too. We do have advertising. We got money for some good advertising too. Okay. New business E, and that's boarding house storage. if nobody else, does anybody have anything? I don't know how it ended up here except for Wayne, and I've had a sit-down meeting with Wayne regarding that, so I can just kind of clarify it a little bit. We have had that second room in the back that had, for a long time, had been locked and used by the state, and we didn't have any use, didn't get to use it. And it was filled with a lot of empty boxes, a heck of a lot of empty boxes, and some of their own personal artifacts. Their personal artifacts, state artifacts. So we can go ahead and use it, and what we want to do is secure the shelving that's in there. There's metal shelving. I don't trust it.
It's not anchored, right?
Nope, not in the wall. And we don't necessarily have to have it anchored in the wall to secure it. But we want to, there's an awful lot of paperwork from particularly the LMA, but the foundation certainly has the file boxes, and that's heavy stuff, and we put it on the bottom. It's also a place that we could store a certain amount of event stuff that we always will have regarding raffle, and even we can accumulate prizes and whatnot that we use for raffle and silent auction. And I am hoping that part of that will be dedicated for archival and artifact. It just needs to be cleaned up. It might cost a little bit to get it in the kind of shape that we need to turn it into a real good storage area, and really clean up the room that we've been using. The first room here behind the right back of the office is ridiculous. Everything is just crammed in there. So Wayne himself was in there lifting and toting boxes, which freaked me out. But, it gave me an opportunity to come down and sit down and talk with him and walk through it and see what we can do. The bottom line is it's open now, and we can start cleaning this place up a little bit better. So that's basically what I know about going on, or what's going on with that space. Things actually would have turned out a little bit differently, and thank goodness Clarence stepped in and let us store so much equipment in the Jiangyin. But I know I felt a little resentful myself, and knowing we had a room back there filled with empty boxes, and we couldn't store any of the stuff that we use at our events. So.
No, yeah, well, actually, in the beginning, we suggest to use that when Terry put a lot of things in the back room,
Yeah.
and she objected to it
Yeah.
for storing those tables and chairs.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was pissed. There's also, maybe Mark, you can address this, there's archival material, state stuff in there that I have no idea if they've come through and
Supposedly everything that is cataloged that goes with this building, that there is a list which should be in the foundation's files that show everything that
yeah, but some of these things didn't have numbers on them. So I'm not sure, but I do know that it states, for instance, that juicy medicine collection back there that would go so good with our medicine collection, and some other stuff. There's clothing items, multiple clothing items, and some bowls, some old rice bowls, etc. So there's, yeah. Yeah. And that's another can of worms too, because they're supposed to come in here X amount of time and inventory their stuff, and
they're in the course of rewriting operations manual for museum practices, which should be finalized in the next month or two. And they are going away from an annual inventory of collections because there's not enough museum curators in the state park system to do annual inventories of all the collections. So the best thing is to identify those objects to Terry, and she can make the determination if those are objects that are part of the boarding house collection or not.
or we can keep our mouths shut. The only thing I care about is if we can display them, because some of them are just nice.
They all should be identified with their numbers, identifying that they are cataloged and part of the state of California's collection of artifacts.
And we're supposed to have that catalog list here and another one off-site. So unless off-site
In
now.
the district, and Terry has the ability to go online to the database to check what objects are assigned here to the boarding house.
Good. And then anything that isn't on the list would be ours, I assume. Maybe.
The thing to be aware of is that when collections like this are put together, is the curators will look at the entire collection throughout the entire state and look for objects that are appropriate to be used in this type of museum. So those objects might be from all over the state, not necessarily from Locke or the Delta vicinity. But once again, yes, there should be a master inventory of those objects that are here. If there are additional objects that are here that are not on that list, then they need to be assessed for either found on site or to see if they were brought in, if somebody brought them into the boarding house to donate. And there's a whole accessions process that has to be done for that.
Yeah, because we're in the same position for stuff that was left to us.
And if the foundation is in the process of setting up a parallel collection or a repository of artifacts so that can be displayed at the boarding house, there will have to be a mechanism to differentiate those objects between the two collections, and also establishing documentation. And some of the research material I provided you covers that, and we can have an ongoing discussion about that.
It will be so. But anyway, we have found some pretty cool stuff back there and it should be seen. Okay, that's boarding house storage. More than you needed to hear. Under announcements, I want to announce that on April 24th, here in town at noon, that's a Sunday, will be the Native Sons of the Golden West dedication of our plaque, which is done. It's going to be delivered here on Monday, and Mark, I can never pronounce his last name, Salaji is, I meet up with him today, and he's cutting the steel and he's got the materials necessary to mount that thing, and he has to leave for the weekend for a job, but he should be back after the weekend, where we actually had a mock-up that I sent a picture to everybody. If everybody saw the picture of that's the exact size of it, it's huge. And we're ahead of schedule. And the placement will be in the corner of the park. I can't give you the exact figure. It's over by the corner of our new building, the town's new building over there. We made enough from the asphalt in for a future wheelchair or something that's easier for pedestrians to walk on, and then in another few feet into the park itself on the ground cover. And bearing in mind that when we get funding someday, we will get a duplicate of it in Chinese lexicons. So they're going to have about 15 people down here at noon on the 24th, and I'm going to send out reminders for folks. And we're going to have a little ceremony, and we're going to supply, if it's hot, a canopy. We're going to have some tables and some chairs, and there's going to be some blah blah. And I've already been in discussion with the fella from Native Science that, this isn't going to be a long drawn out thing, because they hate that when that happens, because they're going to all go to Alwaps and have lunch, and I'm going to give them a walking tour. And when I suggested the deluxe long walking tour, they opted for the deluxe short walking tour. So they're gonna wanna go to Al's and have their lunch and some drinks, so that's all fine with me. We're gonna show them a good time. And I'll be reminding everybody, the more folks we have there, it'll be a small ceremony. The Herald is gonna come down and cover it for the newspaper, and be nice to see everybody there. I'm really happy for what they've done. They've really amped it up here at the end. They were patient because we submitted so many different versions of the text, and each one was being vetted, and finally came up with that final text. So it's going to happen. It'll happen before our May event, which just makes me happy as can be.
Stuart, I have a question. April 24th, is that a date that is inscribed on the monument
Yes, it is.
also?
Yes.
Why was 24th selected?
Is that the Sunday?
Well, I'm thinking that
A
with
bad luck number?
Chinese culture, we try to avoid the 4s.
Yep, well, I do not know. So, we're gonna have to live with that. That's another
It's
ghost
already inscribed?
story.
It can't
Oh,
be
it's
changed?
done. It is done. Yep.
That's okay, I got married on April 4th, and I'm
Oh,
coming up
wow.
on my 35th anniversary, so
Wait, April 4th, what year?
81,
Oh,
not 84.
yeah, right. Well, maybe the 8 made up for the 4s.
So the year would have to make up for it, 1 and 6.
The 1 and 6.
It will have to.
Yes.
Anybody else have announcements?
April 18th, Sacramento, we're hosting the mayor's town hall at the Apapa office for those who want to listen in to the Sacramento
Potential mayor,
mayor's
the mayor's running.
run. All of you to attend the Apapa Scholarship Gala on May 7th, because we are actually going to acknowledge Joyce and Alex Ng for the Community Service Leadership Award that night.
Why is that not, why am I not looking at that right now? It's May.
5:30 to 9 at the Sheraton.
Oh, you're looking at the
The previous.
CHCS?
Oh, instead of, I have the Apapa
It's
here.
May
And-
7th.
Yeah,
May 7th, the
Yeah.
Apapa Scholarship Gala.
and we're
Half the table.
we're responsible for selling half the table.
Half the table.
And Clarence, you and Eva are gonna attend.
Yeah, we take that too.
Okay, and then I'm gonna try to get Douglas and Nancy to go. And I've got an event that day too, but I'm buying a ticket and I'm gonna go back and forth
Yeah, we-
because I'm right by there.
Yeah, we were talking about Locke Foundation purchased the area, and then we go there and we pay Locke Foundation,
Yeah,
isn't it?
what's happened is we got a full table, but CACS is sharing the table with us.
Well, I think now because Alex and Joyce are getting award, I'm asking my board to buy a full table to support them, because most of my board members would want to attend to support Alex and Joyce. Which means that's okay, because Apapa has many tables we want to fill, and you would be sharing with another organization, half the table,
That'll be fine.
sitting
So
nearby.
we have 5 tickets and they're pretty much sold. That's up to me to move them anyway, so. But it is full bore. What did it say in the minutes there regarding that?
It said, Apapa Scholarship Gala, May 7, 2016, Locke Foundation participation. Honeyman asked what the Locke Foundation share a table, asked if the Locke Foundation share a table with CAC, the Chinese American Council. Cost would be $350 for 5 tickets. Stewart moved, I second, to purchase half a table and encourage attendees to contribute to half of the ticket price,
Okay, so we're gonna cover half of $375,
$350.
$350. Okay, I think what we
No,
should,
350 was.
350 was
the
half the
5
table.
tickets, that's half.
yeah, 350 is for 5
It's
tickets.
for 5, and we're covering 350.
And if,
So usually what Locke Foundation will send a check to a papa,
yeah,
and then the
whoever attends can,
attends can
can
pay and
Can-
reverse
Locke Foundation.
Locke
Contribute.
Foundation.
good, so we'll go ahead, I
To
think we
that,
may
if
have
they
even
would.
done that,
Yes.
I'm not
So
sure.
we won't
Because
cost,
it
Locke
is tax
Foundation.
write-off, so you,
I was fixing on buying my ticket, inviting Doug and Nancy, and they said, yeah, you might feel free to buy
Another 2.
2 tickets, yeah. So we got that covered. It is a gala.
it is
There's a lot of
gala.
mucky mucks there. Okay, if there's no more announcements, is there some public comment? Well,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn. Do we have to second a move to adjourn?
You could just,
Okay.
you can make it, just say, we'll give it a adjourn.
It's 7:55, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming, but I know it's a long drive.
I have a question,
Thank
is
you.
there, this is off the record, do we have all the newsletters on, archived on the website?
Yeah.
My wife found a picture with,
Also work real close.
It said that it was,
it was in front of the schoolhouse, I think, and it had,
it said Ruby Chan.
I don't think so, no, I don't remember, I just remember looking at it. She
Newsletter.
said,
Newsletter.
the picture had she and 2 of her sisters,
Uh-huh.
and she recognized
I do
it
go down
because
there.